Hello and welcome to Coffee with Keerthi. Today I have somebody very, very interesting. She is an author, she's a speaker, she's a greatness coach, international greatness coach. She's an entrepreneur and she's a change maker. Her LinkedIn profile itself says her purpose in the world is to change the world. So let's welcome Christine Sanni. Christine, welcome to Coffee with Keerthi. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm well, and thank you so much for that warm welcome. I'm happy to be here, honored, humbled to be here. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited, and I got my coffee like always for all my shows. And
likewise.
Thank you for bringing your coffee too.
Thank you for allowing me.
Yes. So Christine, I want to get started with a very, very primary question of let's start talking about your venture, your company. Where you started, what is it called? What does it entail? How do you guys work? And where did the idea to start the company come from? How did you become an entrepreneur, first of all?
Oh, what a long journey it has been. You know what? I think it started really when I was a child. At a very early age, I knew I wanted to invent and create and do something bigger than myself. I just didn't know that that word perhaps was an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Naturally, I grew into this person that you see, right? The journey that I've experienced. And I have many ventures. If you know me, or if you're watching this and like, I know Christine, I verbalize that there is so much ability to the human being. And so as an inventor and creator, an entrepreneur, someone who has an appetite for risk, when I feel pulled or called to explore something or to understand something, I simply take the leap.
Okay.
So with the book or with the coaching was really an opportunity for me to come out from behind my death and the lows and really connect with human beings. And so it was sort of a natural evolution of who I am as an entrepreneur. But you may be referring to ConservGeo, and that has an interesting story. ConservGeo was founded off of the desire to meet a big need. And so my husband and I are actually partners in that organization. And we got together and we said, we've experienced a life here in the United States, and we've seen what some may define as successes and, experienced the entrepreneurial journey. And we wanted to ask ourselves, how could we solve a big world issue or problem? How could we meet a need and build a business with purpose? It's as simple as that. It's like, yeah, we could go, invest in this or start this, but what can we do that has purpose behind it, meaning from the very start, from the very onset? And so we started looking at climate change and the lack of infrastructure in developing countries, and some of the things that were really the causality of not having something. And then that resulted in, okay, it's created issue or this problem. And so ConservGeo was really started off a desire to help. And need. And so we did just that. We started off at conception of the company, helping and advising project developers within the green space to bring their projects to fruition.
Okay.
And then in 2019, we really started pivoting, sort of following our gut instinct, to pivot somewhat in a way to where we would focus on investing within operational assets and building and bringing that value and acumen and entrepreneurship to other operational assets that were looking to really take their organizations to the next level. So we're very, very proud of the work and how we were founded as an organization. And I think it really does align with who you become as a human being, right? And the beautiful thing is, can you take who you are, your authentic self, and then put into works, body of works, projects, whatever we want to call them, businesses, or just showing up simply in your day. You are. So that's how we got started.
I think that's from what I have been reading about you, you come across as a very as a person who expresses herself, right? Whatever you are, it's just what is inside you is what you express, right?
Yes.
And I think one of your other ventures is Learned Academy, right? So tell us about that.
Greatness Learned.
Greatness Learned.
Yeah, right? Greatness Learned. You're right. You're spot on with the description that you've just given. I let it out. And the reason why is because for so long, I balled it inside of me and didn't let anyone see it and was ashamed of it or was afraid of it, just not knowing what I truly was. So I let it out, and it's freeing, and it gives me joy and fulfillment. But Greatness Learned was really sort of part of that. We put together sort of a cumulative library of things that we had learned along the way within entrepreneurship, within life, within personal and professional development. And that was a way for us to give. I am finding that the more projects I get myself involved in, the more it is designed around what can I give to humanity versus what can I take. And so Greatness Learned is really based off of the coaching, which is, I believe that every single human being is great.
Absolutely.
There is no mistake with humanity. It is intentional. And so if it is that you are great, why do you show up in life as if you are not? Right? And so it's the power to remember what you are, who you are, that you have the ability. If there's something that you don't understand or know, Greatness Learned is really that sort of safe haven to come and learn without walls, without limits. And so we built that unlimited course library for users to just come on, consume, and then take it and do what you will with it. So another passion project.
Passion project. So talking about passion, right? So you told about letting it out and expressing yourself. Whatever you are within is what you express. So I come across a lot of entrepreneurs, right? They are not really able to express themselves, although they have a lot of things inside them and they want to get that out. And what would you suggest, or what's your advice to entrepreneurs who are in that state of mind, or that condition? I wouldn't call it as a condition, but circumstance, or kind of life state, right? How does an entrepreneur just live it up, right? How do you get it out and express yourself to the world?
Yeah. Well, I think Simon Sinek says it best, where he says, start with your why. Yeah. There's intent in living.
Right. right,
So there must be, therefore, intent in entrepreneurship.
right, right.
So if there is intent in what you're doing, that shouldn't be hid, because as an entrepreneur, as you are leading that team and they are trusting you with the vision that you have, if
Mm-hmm.
you hide your why, if you hide what's inside of you, what you truly care about,
Right.
there's a difference. I think structurally building a business, registering a business name, trademarking, filing patents, all of these things that go into the intricacy of building a business, that is not the why, that is simply the vehicle.
Right,
And so
right.
as an entrepreneur, we must be completely aligned with why we're going to market,
Mm-hmm.
so that your team can therefore align with why they are helping you as an entrepreneur go to market. So if an entrepreneur is stuck and feels that they are, what you're explaining is inauthentic
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
why, then
Right.
you just have to ask, well, has my why changed?
Okay. Okay. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
my why changed. And if it has, to understand and believe and have the freedom to express that you have grown as
Uh-huh.
an entrepreneur. And it may be that that venture does not align with you anymore, and that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. Or
Mm-hmm.
it may be that as a business, as a culture within your organization, that you need to pivot, you need to
Right.
grow.
Right.
And so reminding ourselves that irregardless of the titles,
Mm-hmm.
what we put on,
Mm-hmm.
authenticity is the most valuable thing you can give to a business
Mm-hmm.
in 2020.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that is something that is to the core. It has become the core of entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Authenticity. You need to be real. And I think that's how you can connect with people. So what do you think about entrepreneurs' vulnerability? You think that entrepreneurs should be vulnerable and should be okay, and is it okay to be to show off your weaknesses to the world, is or do you have to just fake it until you make it? What is your take on that? What do you think? So if I am lacking something as an entrepreneur, should I just talk to people, talk to the world about it and get over it, or should I just say, no, you know what, let me be in denial, and it's okay, and I'm just going to show off, be a hypocrite, whatever the word is, right? What do you think of that?
Oh, so there's so much compounded in that.
Uh-huh.
There's ego. There's ego.
Right.
There is imposter syndrome that we
Uh-huh.
feel as entrepreneurs. And then there is the lack or existence of trust.
Right. Right.
So first, I'll deal with the ego.
Uh-huh.
As an entrepreneur, you have to have some sort of ego, meaning you have to have some sort of faith and belief that, irregardless of who says no or that's impossible, you still jump.
Right.
Right. So there's
Right.
a level of that.
Right.
But once you get into entrepreneurship and the desire is to truly grow and scale your company,
Right.
which is, I think we're going to get there at some point, but starting a business with purpose, you have to start with your why, as Simon Sinek says, because when the adversity happens and when the challenge happens, and when you become aware that there is a lack of ability,
Mm-hmm.
or you do not have a specific skill set to bring something into fruition,
Mm-hmm.
the only way to move past, move forward, and through that gap
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is to trust and hire and bring in someone who can do it. So you have to, at that point, lay down the ego,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and then you bring in that trust. And I wrote a piece here on LinkedIn, Scaling Through Trust. It's
Mm-hmm.
the only way to really trust and build out a team is to take the vision that you at inception conceived and allow that to be manifested through others coming into that vision and building it and expounding upon it and exploring it. Here's the thing. You can't do it by yourself.
Right.
If you'd be the only person on the planet.
Right, right. Absolutely,
Right?
absolutely.
So it's about being realistic, and no, you shouldn't hide it. You should embrace it. As an entrepreneur, you never, but even not as an entrepreneur, you should never want to be the smartest person on earth.
Right, right.
That's a lonely place
It's
when you think about it.
It is a lonely place.
Yeah. So, and then if there is the imposter syndrome that comes into play, and it drops whenever the conscious wants to drop it down, that you become aware that imposter syndrome is 99.99999% of the time associated with some fear. Right? It's associated with some fear. It does not necessarily mean you are not equipped or have the ability to fill a gap. And so you have to really balance those things: ego, trust, and then the imposter syndrome that is the mind that plays so many tricks.
Mind plays lots and lots of games, right? So I think
it does.
so that brings also to a question, Christine, about your book, right? You're the author of the book called Meet Me at the Table Where Greatness and Impact Collide. So tell us about that. How does greatness and impact collide? What is the connection?
Yeah. Yeah, well, Meet Me at the Table Where Greatness and Impact Collide was really me sharing with the world that I had changed, and that I, meaning my level of consciousness, had changed really. That my mind before then was like, I gotta have this identity. I have to have something that, you know, I can put out there, and I have to be this, and I have to live this way, and I have to be comfortable with the chaos that's in my life. I can't do anything about it. So it was me taking ownership of how I showed up and choosing, as you'll find in the book, to live life from the giver seat. And everything that I do, I seek to give to humanity. For me, it's much more freeing than trying to figure out what I can take and what was going to be mine, and how I was going to use these material things to define who I was and my stake in this game called life. And so it was, and I will tell you, even when I was drafting the book, didn't really fully conceive really what all was happening to me. It's interesting being in the, you know, maturation and the awareness and leveling up your consciousness, and then actually being aware that you are the observer of that. Right?
Oh God.
right. So man, even since the book, guys, you know, PSA, I've become even more aware of, of who I am. But really, it was understanding that greatness is in your cards, that we are all born from the same energy that created the universe.
Absolutely. So go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so we're all born with that, right? We're all born from that, if you will. And so we have greatness. And what I understood and came to understand about colliding. When you collide with something, the impact, the result of that collision is intentional. The result. a car colliding with another car. Maybe they didn't want to collide, but once they collide, the damage, the after effect is all intentional.
Wow. Right.
So I thought, my gosh,
Mhm.
if I can take my greatness and collide with intent and
Mhm.
purpose, with the impact that I felt called to make,
Mhm.
then
Mhm.
everything that's created afterwards will be intentional.
Wow, wow. That's a very interesting and very, very intriguing angle to look at life itself, right? For one, I'm thinking, are you a monk or
I meditate sometimes with them. I do my alms. Yes, I do.
so you talk about awareness, right? Because
Yeah,
I know of a friend who talks a lot about awareness and the kind of, you said you are witnessing yourself as a third person, right? And everything is intentionally or I don't get the whole gist of it, but I'm trying to understand this, that
yeah,
the impact result that anybody wants to create can be an intentional thing, right? so
yes,
so what has life been for you, after, before and after writing the book, right? How has it changed, in terms of thinking, this is what I really really intend to do, this is the kind of impact that I want to have in the world, and I'm gonna all give a lot, right? This is your philosophy, right? I want to
hmm,
give a lot to the world instead of take from it, right? So what
yes,
has changed? When did this change happen, right? And
yeah,
how the book, it's your book is just an expression of whatever has happened, right? So
yes.
what was that paradigm shift that happened?
Yeah, answering the question, what has life been? I, like every other human being, have experienced adversity,
Mm-hmm.
pain,
Mm-hmm.
mistakes, failure. I,
Mm-hmm.
I've got every T-shirt in the closet in every color. Okay, and so I've experienced life just like any piece and aspect of life. So I do not ever share my story thinking I've got the worst story, right? Like, or it's no, you don't understand my pain.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Aware that everyone experiences life. And so a lot of times we become inauthentic or don't share that simple life occurrence or
Mhm,
happening
mhm,
because we feel at some capacity that we are the only ones
mhm, mhm.
that have experienced this type of adversity.
Right.
So I want you to know that my journey has been like every other human being,
Mhm,
where I have grown from failure. And
uh-huh,
I think about 7 years ago
mhm.
now, as we're getting at the end of 2020, um, about 7 years ago, my husband actually sent me a text. I was pulling into our drive and sitting in the truck, and I looked down at my phone,
Mhm,
and he sent me this interview that Oprah Winfrey had done.
uh-huh,
And she was being interviewed, and I'm paraphrasing, but she had been interviewed, and they asked, Oprah, you have family and you have people reaching out, you're a billionaire. They're saying you're not doing this and not doing that.
mhm,
And her response at high level was, when I realized I'm responsible
mhm, mhm, mhm.
for how I allow others to make me feel.
Right.
And that if someone is making me feel negative in any way, or
Uh-huh.
not myself, or taking my confidence or anything of that effect, then
Mhm.
it's my responsibility to remove myself and let go.
Right. Right.
So there's no obligation
Right.
to continue to perpetuate or to expose yourself to negativity.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So um, that for me, and I had heard it a million different ways, but for some reason it resonated with me, and I immediately said, I am going to take accountability for how I show up. Because
Right.
if there's no obligation for me to make myself susceptible to negativity, to involve myself in it, participate in it, or make myself available to it,
Mm-hmm.
then I am okay to let that go
Mm-hmm.
and make room for everything else good in life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it was that one simple understanding that put me on the trajectory
Uh-huh.
of owning every piece of my life. I
Mm-hmm.
don't
Mm-hmm.
put it into the hands of anyone else to
Absolutely.
tell me what I'm capable of as an entrepreneur, as a colleague, or a peer, um, as a woman, as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
That there is nothing truly that separates one from another,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
that I own all of how I show up.
Right.
So that was just a natural, and the more I dove into it, the more I explored it, my venture started changing. And so
Uh-huh.
it wasn't that I would just go invest in a brand or start
Mm-hmm.
this or start that. It was, how do I build business with purpose?
Mm-hmm.
How do I
Mm-hmm.
bring intent into everything?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just the more I started to see outcomes manifest or result in my life, I realized I was actually in control.
Uh-huh.
And then I wrote the book. Now, since I've written the book,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
it's part of maintaining that authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it was I've wrote the book. Um, how do I understand this more? And if I have
Mm-hmm.
spoken it,
Mm-hmm.
number one, I better be living by it,
Uh-huh. Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
And as you dive into awareness and consciousness,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
yeah, um, and you realize that even your identity, who you've become,
Mm-hmm.
has to be offered up.
Right, right. Absolutely, absolutely. So, I feel somewhere, when I'm talking to you, I feel that you are within yourself. You're very much at peace, right?
Mm,
and
yeah,
and 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 that's what gives you, because it's, although you talk about chaos, right, there is
mm,
chaos around. The world was supposed to be chaotic, it was supposed to
yes,
be imperfect, and that's how it was designed and programmed to be. but
yes,
but it is, like you said, for us to respond, whether we take the positive or the negative, and how we respond, react to the world, right? So you're very, you come across as a person who is very, very peaceful inside, and that's how you have that awareness, right,
yeah,
to react to what is being thrown at you, right? so
mm,
so so and you put it very nicely. You gave great credit to Oprah Winfrey, and the video you watched, the interview you watched. But that brings me to a question about, who's your role model? Who do you really, really look up to, in terms of, living it up, in terms of the very philosophy you live on, is basically give and keep giving, and life will throw a lot of abundance at you, right? So
yeah,
who's your role model?
yeah. So I looked at this question and I said, who do I say? And I probably have more than one.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But in terms of philosophy, I would have to say my husband.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my husband is above anything, above the title of husband.
Oh, wow.
Um, beyond any label that I would give him, is connected to me.
Wow.
He is my soulmate. I believe in him, and he believes wholly in me. And so seeing that extension of grace and safety of thought and expression and creativity, to see him do that for me in return, I can do that for others. So in terms of philosophy, this is what we breathe. This is what we live in our home. In terms of innovation and technology, because I naturally am drawn to that, and as using that natural affinity to technology and how it can be used to improve the lives of humanity and serve our planet, Elon Musk has to be really at the top of that list. Where sure, you know, I've watched several interviews that Elon has done, and you know, they ask him questions. Well, will you ever stop? Or you failed, Elon, 3 times to get people to, you know, space. And he very pointedly says, "I'll never stop trying."
Right.
You know, I'll never give up. That's not even a thought process.
Correct.
Likewise, for me, it's not a thought process of giving or quitting. I have before, I have given up on myself, but that was because I was unaware of what I was capable of. When you become aware of what you are, and aware of the power that is on the inside of you, there is peace. There is peace.
Right.
And that I know where the validation comes from. I don't seek validation in my entrepreneurship. I only seek to be aligned with who I am. And if I can express who I am without fear, then I know that I'm going in the right direction.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell me about your work, Christine. You're, you know, with your work and you know, the coronavirus has happened. There's you know, the pandemic going on. How have you guys been, you know, coping with it? Because you are, you know, you're also a speaker, right? You're called out at a lot of events and a lot of places. What has changed after that, and how are you coping this crisis of, you know, the virus and all of this happening around?
Well, you know, I have not failed to remember. Chaos is part of life. Uncertainty, until you actually have created what you have envisioned, it's uncertain. So I've learned to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. And I have not forgotten, I have remembered that this is just another storm, and that we as beings are able to have that resolve. We can survive. So I've used this time to be very cognizant of what is happening, the change that's happening. You know, as an organization, our team is remote, so we have not allowed the inability to congregate in person to stop anything that we're doing. Right, we're leveraging technology, but I think most importantly is you can get caught up in the noise and the chaos. And what I've come to understand about chaos is not that it comes to stop you from doing something, although you can allow it to. Chaos comes, life comes to remind you of what's real.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's understanding that once we get through this, which we will, I don't have to be an economist or even a futurist
Right,
to say, hey, we're going to come out on the other side of what this is. We'll innovate through it. We'll build solutions, respond to needs.
right.
But when we come out, we'll understand what was real.
Absolutely.
That this isn't the first sort of chaos we've been through. It won't be the last.
Right.
And that humanity is designed to respond.
Right, right, right. So I think it's all about adapting to
Yes,
change and also embracing the change and like you said, be authentic, stay real, understand what real things are, and
yeah,
have an intentful impact, if I
yes,
am going to put it that way, right? So
yes.
what's your future vision? What does Christine Sanni want to be in the next 5 to 10 years? What kind of impact are you looking at? What do you envision yourself doing in the next, let's say, 10 years from now? And what's it going to be?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm working on, it's really early.
Uh-huh.
I'm working on sort of stepping into that sort of inventor um, arena.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I believe that, digital transformation surely has sped up. The process has been sped up due to the pandemic, but we are moving into a digital first world,
Mm-hmm.
right? The Amazonian, Uberish type, Airbnb-ish type world.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we are going to interact in a digital ecosystem,
Mm-hmm.
I think we have to do a really, really good job in building access to that for all of humanity. So the impact that I am looking to have in that regard is to innovate around the blockchain
Mm-hmm.
um, and create solutions for equal access to the digital world. And in doing that and stepping and living outside of any box, um, I also really my vision for the world, if I have many,
Mm-hmm.
but if I had to sort of overarch, give a high level vision,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I seek a world that is completely aware of what's possible
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
with active participation from humanity.
Wow. Wow. Correct. So I have two last questions to you. That actually the first question is when you talk about humanity and you talk about when you also talk about your own green initiatives. What is your take about climate change? What is happening there? The virus could be a part of the whole climate change. I'm not sure. I'm not a scientist, but what is your take on the climate change, and what do you think, according to you, is going to happen in the next few years, and what is that we all should be doing in terms of
Yeah.
initiatives?
Well, first and foremost, climate change, I just want to say, is real.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, whether you're a scientist or not, we see evidence
Mm-hmm.
of all over the world,
Right. Right.
the destruction all over the world.
Right.
And so there is the, sort of causality of all these things that are happening. And you have the science community, and then you have the political points of view, and you have the people that see it and are trying to do their part with source segregation at the home. Like I have
Mhm.
several bins in the backyard. I'm like, kids, put this here, put this here, put this here. And so, again, sort of the world that I see, the world that I envision is awareness.
Uh-huh.
Let's become more aware of what's happening, number one. And then you will, from that awareness, understand how it is that you can give to solving and assisting those that will lead, those project developers that will create technology, that will deploy projects worldwide, not just in the US or Canada or Europe and Australia, but in developing countries that lack infrastructure. So, you know, within a couple years, I mean, I will tell you, there are people right now, we have been for a long time, asking ourselves tough questions around how we can responsibly bring our products to market and conserve the planet at the same time.
Absolutely.
Change is needed. That is scientifically, if you want to look at it, if the data is out there. But for example, if you're, you know, in California right now, woken up to orange skies and reports that the worst air quality in the world. This is real, right? So these things are happening.
Right.
We must be aware, we must be cognizant. So I would ask all who sees this, just to do your own due diligence, be aware.
Yeah. Be aware about the surrounding, be aware about what is happening around, and just contribute, right? Give. So the last question, Christine, is about what advice would you give an entrepreneur, whether they are green, you know, they're doing something in the green domain, or anything. What's your advice to entrepreneurs? How do you think, like you said it already, right? We're all destined, and we're all already great, right, from within, and God has gifted us with all the greatness already. So what's your advice to entrepreneurs?
Explore that that which is effortlessly. Explore it, and then use that and bring that your peace within yourself, your authenticity, your true nature, if you are going to be an entrepreneur, into your business. And so my advice would be to build with purpose. Everything should be intentional. And if you do it with the intent, with the why, you grow.
Absolutely.
You solve the need versus building a business and making decisions based off of what you can gain. Life's too short to worry about what you can gain.
I think when you give, you already gain, right?
That's it comes naturally.
It comes naturally. So like they say, give respect, take respect. So first you need to give. That's when you get, right? So awesome. It's been fantastic talking to you, interacting with you, Christine, and I can go on and on with you here with the questions, and you know, I think you have a very different view of the world. You see the world from a very different angle, from a you know, it's I think a little bit of spirituality is there in between somewhere, you know, if you read between the lines. So it's been fantastic talking to you.
My pleasure.
I really thank you for coming on Coffee with Keerthi. Thanks so very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much, and hopefully we can do this again.
Definitely.
And stay in touch.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Christine. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.